Want to learn more about how to make your applications more dynamic in JavaScript? Well, let's find out how to do the basics in this video. Hey, it's T from the Breakthrough Code channel, where we try and make coding fun and simple to understand. Make sure to stick around to the end because I am going to show you how to do some basic input and output in JavaScript. And I've got some bonus stuff for you today as well. We are going to be showing you how to give yourself and other developers more descriptive information about your code through comments. So what's the meaning of dynamic? Okay, well, dynamic is characterized, got my word out there, characterized as constant change. Okay, but how do we reflect that in our application so that they are not static every time the user launches our application? Okay, one of the easiest way to do this is with user interaction. If we are able to interact with our users through our application, then the application may behave differently based on the user input. Okay, let's head over to Visual Studio, and we're going to be focusing on the JavaScript file today. If you don't know how to set up this environment so that you can follow along, if you've been watching the series, I did a video to show you how to do that. If you've forgotten the video or you don't have it, I'm going to put the link in the description below. So we're going to be using a function today in this JavaScript file. Just so you know, a function is a block of code designed to perform a particular task that may or may not return a result as well. But we're not making a function this time. We're going to be using one of the inbuilt functions called prompt. Okay, so prompt or the prompt method in JavaScript is used to display a dialog box that prompts the user for some input. We can call the prompt function by just basically typing the word prompt and then open closed brackets and then a semicolon. Then if we run that in our server, in our browser, we should have it up. Let's get rid of that and do that again so that you can see how I did that. Here we go. We have this prompt window. Okay, it's got a text box for us to use, and say we type some text into that text box and click OK. You can see nothing happened. Pretty basic, right? So the question is, well, how do we use the value we typed into that prompt box? Well, let's head back over to the code, because we're going to try and store that a value in a variable. Okay, and I've covered variables before, but just a brief a reminder: a variable is a container for a value like a number or string, so it's ideal for what we want to do here. So we can create a variable, okay, using the var keyword, okay, and we are going to call it name, okay, and we're going to assign it using the equal operator, okay. In this case, we are obviously going to assign the variable to prompt, so that basically what happens is when we run this function and we type in a value and it returns a result, it should stick it in that a variable right there. Okay, cool. So let's run our application again. Cool. So this time let's type in David again and click OK. We still get nothing. Well, if we look at our code, basically we can see that we're not really doing much. You know, all we're doing is pretty much setting the result of this variable, this function, to our variable name, but we're not doing anything afterwards. Okay, so luckily the browser is pretty smart, and that variable didn't just disappear that we created and assigned a value to. We can still access it with without actually adding any additional code for the meantime. Okay, you just need to know how to do that. And well, if you press F12, it'll give you the developer tools. Okay, and if you head over to console, okay, just so you're aware, the console is used or provides like a log of useful information about the web application, okay, such as network errors and things like that. But we can also ask it a question, kind of, okay. So if we type in name, okay, which was the name of our variable, okay, and we click enter, there we go. We can see that the value we entered into the prompt function has been stored in as a result in this name variable, okay. But if we refresh the page, it's going to give us a new prompt window, and if we now ask for that variable again, it's going to be empty this time, okay. So it doesn't last forever. The value is now gone. So obviously later on in this series we're going to be talking about how to keep data even after you refresh through databases and things like that. But for now, just know that if you refresh, your data in the web application is going to be gone. Okay, cool. So let me now show you, obviously, how we can output the value of the name variable. Okay, so we've got another function that can do that. So if I move this over here, we've got a function called an alert function, okay? And this function displays an alert box with a message and an OK button. That kind of sounds like what we need. So let's type that in. So let's, it's the name of the function is called alert, okay? And then what we want to do is to put the name variable in there, okay, so that it displays it, okay. And let's see how that works. So if I get rid of that and open that in the browser, okay, we get our prompt this time. Let's change the name. Let's type in a different name. Let's go with Ruben. Cool. As you can see, we've got what we typed in the box right there called Ruben, and an OK button as well. Okay, and when we click that OK button, the prompt goes, it vanishes. Okay, cool. Now let me show you something about the differences between these two functions that we've utilized so far. Okay, so even though they're both they're both functions, I guess, we use them differently, as they obviously behave differently, but we also wrote them in a different way. Okay, from the prompt function, we assigned it to a variable, okay? But for the alert function, we passed in a variable and never assigned it to anything for the result, okay? Well, if we hover over the function, the alert function, okay, you can see it gives us a bit more information about the function, okay? And we'll start off with the prompt function first of all. You can see that it returns a value here of string or null, okay, and it takes in a string, a couple of parameters here, okay, a message and a default message as well, okay. However, when we hover over the alert function, okay, it only takes in one parameter and it returns void, okay, which means it doesn't really return anything. Okay, and just another thing to point out as well, the rules that govern the way we write code in JavaScript is called syntax. Every programming language has its own syntax, and the more familiar you are with the language, the more you'll know what it is and how to use it and when to use it, okay? For example, as you can see here, we've ended each line of code with a semicolon, okay? Or when you, for example, we can leave white spaces between this alert function like such, and everything's still going to work fine, okay? In JavaScript, you can do this, but I don't really come across it in the code that I've come across that does things like leaving spaces in between this like that, you know, okay. But it is pretty flexible, but I wouldn't advise to start breaking up functions or function words like this, or doing stuff like this, you know, because it's not going to work for doing stuff like that, okay. But there are coding like conventions that are kind of like style guides that have been tried and tested by developer communities over the years, kind of like best practices, I guess. and we're going to be following those throughout the course for JavaScript. Okay, so let's return that back to the way it was without all the unnecessary spaces. Okay, cool. Right, next up, remember that console that I showed you? Let's go back and get rid of all these. And if I press F12, remember this console? We can actually log messages there too, instead of using the alert function. Okay, to do that, we can do that with another function called a console.log. Okay, open close brackets and semicolon, and whatever we put in these parameters or parentheses, sorry, will be printed to the console. In this case, let's print the name variable to the console. So let's do that. So if I copy that in here, okay, and if I refresh that page again with the new changes, we get our pop-up again. We'll go with Paul this time, and we click OK. We get our alert, and we click OK to that, and then we press F12. We go to the console. We also see that Paul has been printed to the console, so that's pretty cool. Finally, we're going to talk about comments. Okay, developers sometimes use comments to clarify code. Okay, and there are two ways of to do this. Okay, or in JavaScript anyway. We can do that either with a single line comment, okay, which is just a comment on one line, and you do that with 2 forward slashes, and then you can pretty much write whatever you want. On that line, obviously. This is a comment, okay. Or we can do a multi-line comment with 1 forward slash and an asterisk, and then we can write loads of stuff. This is a comment. This is another comment. Okay, see, we can keep going as much as we want, and when we're done with the commenting on the multi-lines, we can end it with another asterisk and a forward slash. Okay. Comments are not executed by JavaScript, so they're a good way of testing things. Okay. If we add another console log, for example, I'll get rid of actually, let me do a name like that. Okay, then I get rid of this, and then I copy that, and I go name again. Cool. If we run that, that's going to get executed in the console, right? So let's check that out. Let's refresh our browser and head over to the developer tools. Okay, we've got both of them, right? Okay, but if we comment out one of these, okay, let's comment out the first one by putting the double forward slashes, okay, like that. Okay, it's only going to execute one of the lines of code and ignore the other one. Okay, so let's head over back to our browser. As you can see, we've not executed name, we've executed name again only. Okay, so now you know how to get your applications having some basic interactions with its users. Oh, by the way, this is really good for testing your code. Say, for example, if I wanted to run this without comments and I didn't want to run this line of code, I'd have to delete it like such. Okay, but with comments, I can still have the code in here for reference for later, and still run, and the code still works fine. Okay, without executing this part of the code. Okay. Okay, so as I said, you now know how to get your applications having some interactions with the users, basic interaction, obviously. I've also showed you how to be more descriptive about your code through comments. I'm really hoping you learned something from this video, something new, hopefully. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And make sure to check out the next video on the playlist if you are really enjoying this series. Have a good day.